Africa here with the African Millennials. We've got a wonderful show in store for you today. We're just going to dive right into it. Today, what are we discussing?
Sure.
All right, let's see. So we have a letter from one of our viewers, and it says, "Dear African Millennials, my married boss is pressuring me to have sex with him." All right. So men, we're out here. "I don't have proof of this, but I can feel the pressure every day. I haven't given in yet, but I'm afraid he would find a reason to fire me. My question is, what should one do if being sexually harassed by one's boss?" This is from Rosa in LA.
So there's this woman who's being sexually harassed by her boss, and she wants to know what to do about it.
Correct.
But she don't have proof of it.
She doesn't have proof.
She's saying that she can feel it, like, you know, you can always kind of sense when somebody, you know, there's some sort of.
But that means he's not saying it though.
I mean, but a lot of times it's not. Well, with my experience witnessing harassment in the workplace, I feel like a lot of times people expect it to be overt and direct, but a lot of times it's very subliminal.
Right.
It could be anything as simple as, you know, your boss walking by your desk and, you know, nice dress, or not even but see, that's overt. That's overt. It could be anything as simple as, you know, your boss walking by your dress and, you know, maybe commenting on, you know, that's an interesting, you know, dress you have on.
Or inviting you places.
It's subtle, but if it happens repeatedly, it's like, okay, are you trying to like ask, like, what are you doing, bro? Like,
I mean, I don't. The thing is, if it's not, because it's depending on your level of comfort.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
So if your boss is saying this, it depends what kind of woman you are. If you feel like he's, you know, being sexually, you know, harassing you, that's the issue. But sometimes it's not even that deep.
Sure. Like, but again, that's you're saying it's not, it may not be that deep, but if the workplace has systems and codes and
right, that's true.
And
but she may be sensitive.
And your employer's violating it, or she's afraid of losing her job if she decides to.
Yeah, if she's uncomfortable, she's uncomfortable.
Well, first off, she should know her rights within the workplace.
Right.
She should do her research with HR, and she can even ask her HR or ask another coworker, like, okay, in an event like this, she could hypothetically speak to her other coworkers or her HR and say, oh, I'm just curious, you know, if someone was trying to like talk to me at work, what are my rights? What are this? That's what she needs to do.
My question for Rosa is, if she feels this way towards her boss, why is she still working there?
Because some people
does it have to be
It's a job.
It's a job, but at the end of the day, you're not comfortable working in that situation.
She should be looking for another job.
Yes.
She should not.
No, she should not. Why should she uproot her life for some other douchebag?
Because
Forget about
I'm in the same industry, and what I've witnessed is that it is bullshit, but at the same time, like, retaliation is a thing that happens, and HR is not there to protect you. They're there to protect the company.
But there's retaliation procedures as well.
But you also have to remember, New York is an at-will state, so they can fire you for any reason.
Well, she's in LA.
Discrimination.
We definitely seen that
That's
happen.
discrimination.
Whether it's discrimination or not, I'm not disagreeing with you. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, if your boss is already, you know, I'm not gonna name drop somebody that's like a big deal. But if your boss is like a super bigwig at a company that is
like
Fortune 500, they're not firing him.
They're gonna fire you
because you're an assistant.
No.
Because you're an assistant making $33,000 a year. They're not gonna fire somebody that's on on contract.
But they don't want that.
My honest opinion on Rosa's situation, while it does sound very unfortunate that that's what she's going through, it's the unfortunate reality for millions of women in the workplace in the United States today. And not just in the United States, it's happening in the world. But the only benefit of being in the United States for Rosa is that there's a system in place that advocates for women that feel like they're being harassed in the workplace. There are, at most corporate, most corporate outlets have a system of human resources that actually deals with these instances. And if you are working at a place that doesn't have those resources, you can always hire an employment lawyer, or any sort of legal assistance, legal aid that can address those
I
problems.
don't want that publicity though.
Right.
If I tell my
This is
HR that
But
if
they
y'all
can
try
always
to
get a
fire
lawyer
me,
to
have
barrier
had enough.
Sure.
Women have had enough. This is
I agree with you.
2018. Time's up. All right, we're not gonna like sit around and allow for this kind of behavior to go down, whether or not you're the top executive or the janitor.
right.
No,
So
it's
my
not
question is-
going
my
down.
question
And I
anymore.
agree with you too.
It's not
I
going
wish
down.
I wish more people would speak up, but at the end of the day, we cannot forget that even though you speak up, wonderful, great. I'm glad everybody's standing up for themselves and doing all that. But retaliation is happening.
I think for generations and generations, women have been struggling with workplace injustices such as sexual harassment. And I definitely feel like we are on the brink of a third wave feminist movement in terms of the fact that, women are not taking it any longer. And we can see that by all the movements that have, begun emerging in society, from Time's Up to the Me Too movement. We're not taking it anymore. It's not okay. It's not happening. Don't do it. You will be prosecuted.
if I'm in that
After they get
situation,
fired.
I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm gonna let
Are you
HR know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So it
And
doesn't
then
work.
go
Well,
from
But
there.
you
And if they try to
depends on
fire
the-
me,
it also
then that's
depends
when
on
you
the industry.
escalate
Yeah,
the
It
issue.
depends
Yeah.
on the industry too. Like maybe in the industry you're in, HR is a functional process that works for the
But we
employee.
can always
It
tell
doesn't
HR
work.
though. You have
so
to.
what
What are you saying though? Like that
So
she
she
should
shouldn't
give
do
in
anything
to.
about it?
I'm not saying she should give in at all. I'm
So what are
saying
you saying?
so what I'll say is I think the whole Me Too movement thing is wonderful. It's overdue.
What is Me Too?
Yeah, what is that? Me too.
The Me Too movement, where
Do you
women are speaking up and they're
Coming
making
together
very,
with their
they're making it
experiences.
very clear that they are tired of being exploited. They're tired of being disrespected, and they are standing up for women that don't have the voice. Maybe they're in that position that Rosa's in, and Rosa doesn't feel like she can speak up about it.
Tunde, let me just add on to your point, right? I agree with the whole what you were saying with the Me Too movement. However, the problem is like those situation happens, and then women often don't speak up at the time that it happens.
Sure.
They wait and they talk about
It
it.
dilutes
You lose
it.
credibility when you do that.
That's true.
So the
You
fact
gotta
that
immediately-
this happens right now, I feel like she should say
Do
something and
something
report it
now.
because she have more. First of all, the incident might be fresh, right? So she have more recollection of what happened, and she have more credibility. And even if you say, okay, she should find another job, that doesn't stop her CEO, her boss for doing what he did and what he did to
No,
her.
I agree
Right.
with
To
you.
other
We're on the
people,
same
too.
page.
Now,
We're on the same
what
page.
I'm saying is, like, not to, cut in. Tunde is speaking from the real, the realistic point about what it is. So, like, in the current workplace, that's what HR is going on. It's like, yeah, we're talking about two sides of the spectrum. You guys are defending the woman, which we should, and we should talk about what's ethically right.
Absolutely.
He's speaking on the way of what it actually is. Retaliation is something that's going to happen. I would like to scale back and just, speak about the other side. There was a couple alarming things within the message that I picked up on. When you say things like, I don't have any proof, or I haven't said anything yet, or I'm thinking. When you say those things like that, people are going to start to be like,
Is it
As
that
much as
deep?
it's
Wait,
for
hold
doubt,
on.
it's for doubt.
as much as this stuff does happen, being in a workplace, I've been on, I'm in a corporate job now. I've witnessed people in the music industry talk about, and when he's talking about, it's a different culture. It's a
different
culture
culture.
where, like, in the music or modeling industry, people are already looking at you a certain way anyway, as opposed to corporate or retail or traditional jobs where you can't objectify somebody with certain statements that you might be
disagree
in
with
now.
that. It's not because I want to be in the model industry that I have to be okay with the fact that my boss will touch me.
Right.
Because
I'm not
talking
I know
about
the
touching.
industry that I'm working
Listen,
in.
I'm not-
I don't have- I
I'm
don't
not
agree
talking
with
about.
that.
I'm not talking about touching. I'm saying certain type of
Standards.
complimentary.
There's
If you're in a situation where your boss, let's say you was in the model industry, somebody to say, "Oh, you look nice today," or complimenting your dress or the way you look, is under the confines of that industry kind of okay. I'm not saying as long as it's not sexual.
It's a norm.
That's a norm. Even if it's
If you're-
if you're in the
nice
off-
today, it's okay.
If you're in the office, you have to be very careful as to how you address the way someone looks. I work in the office and I don't even.
And that's
I would
fine.
never even
My issue with the story is, no disrespect to Rosa, is when it comes to situations like this, I just like for people to have full transparency, full disclosure, because you are risking someone's livelihood. when she says vague things like yet or I don't have any proof, that makes me nervous because if this does come out, you have to, as a company, any HR, any corporation, when issues like this, especially as it's a heightened issue in America right now, they have to come full force. So if they're gonna, attack the issue head on, take this person for whatever position they are, put them out of a job, I just want it to be 100% clear that there's not something that you're misinterpreting because once you say it, you can't go back.
Listen, I think that if you as a woman feel uncomfortable in any industry that you are in,
You have to
it
say
is
something.
grounds enough to say something.
But here's the thing.
According to the EEOC, you've got to say something directly to the person,
person. So they know
and then
that they're
exactly,
uncomfortable.
and
here's the
But
thing.
that
then
is
you've
true
got
though.
to
He
report
may
it
not know that
immediately.
what
He may
he's
not know what
doing
he's
is
doing
making
is
her
because
uncomfortable.
But this is what
Well,
she
then
could do.
someone else.
I would say she should have a meeting with him and record the conversation without him knowing, because that could be his proof.
That's illegal.
But that's his proof. That could be his shaky ground. That's her proof because people's
She
gonna
just needs to say something
right. Because
to
the
him
thing is,
first of all.
what if he tried to flip the story? Then she gonna be like,
Happens all the time.
exactly. So what if she has the proof for herself?
That's illegal.
It's
She
not
can't-
illegal.
it would be inadmissible.
If he texts her,
Right.
official text message.
But
It
so
would be
why
inadmissible.
would she be texting him?
Because there's law. There's laws in place. You can't record
But I'm
private
saying,
conversations.
what if-
Go
now.
what you said earlier about what's going on in the workplace about how HR will most likely
Yeah.
favor the managers.
yeah.
Most of the time, because I've seen it happen back in my our old store. I've seen it happen after you
I was
left.
actually talking about
Plenty
that.
times after you left, I've seen it happen. A girl complained about it, but HR, she was gonna bring lawyers involved. What they did is just paid her. I'm not saying no, they just paid her to keep her mouth. Most likely, I can't just sit here and lie. I have seen it. Have they took action? Yes, they took action. So that's why I'm telling her, you have to take action, get your facts because that person did have proof and she has somebody to back her up. So I'm going off what I've seen. But most of the time, when you're gonna bring a lawyer involved, the company, if it's a big company, they're just gonna give you they're gonna make a settlement pay you to keep your mouth shut.
So what is the
They don't
solution?
want this out there.
That's the company trying to do that. They're going to make you sign an NDA and say that here's your settlement, go on about your business. If you as a woman are going to accept that money, then the issue wasn't that big to you in the first place.
Right.
If you feel as though money can shut you up from the situation.
Money can
if
shut
she's
up
a
a lot of
woman and she
people,
wants to,
unfortunately.
you're
It
right,
can.
you're right.
And that's
but
the unfortunate
it
reality.
goes, then if that's the case, then it's not that serious then. If someone is being harassed and you're willing to accept signing an NDA and taking a cash settlement for it, then it wasn't that serious to you where you feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to take some money and be quiet about it. If it was something that was really bothering you and you felt like it was wrong, you'd want to stand up for yourself. You'd want to speak or make it public so that it doesn't happen to anyone else. If you cared about other people or if you cared about your coworkers or built a relationship with them, you would want to say something so that that person no longer works there rather than you take money and leave and not say anything at all. And then your coworkers don't know what happened to you, why you left. And it could be happening to them too. And maybe they may be like you and they may be too afraid to bring it to light or to say it to someone else, or they may feel ashamed. A lot of women feel like embarrassed, they feel ashamed, they feel like it's their fault, and that's why they don't say anything. But if you could be that person that says something and then that person is removed and then becomes a relief for everybody else, I would personally want to be that person rather than just signing an NDA and taking a cash settlement.
My name
Then
is
it's not that
Sorry.
serious.
It's not also about it not being that serious.
I
If
think
you
it's a
do
serious
take, if you
thing.
do take that NDA and you do take that settlement, that's on the table. Now, if you think that what you need is a lot more, it needs to be something else that needs to happen besides that. When you turn that down, there's also things that the people have to understand. As somebody that studied HR in school as well and been on that type of site, once you expose yourself to letting everybody know that you sued another company, other companies that you're going to try to work for, they're not going to hire you. They're not going to hire you because
on your resume.
Exactly. Once you go out on court and you fight something, it's not going to be whether or not you was wrong, like you were wrong.
You become a liability
You
to your
become a
industry.
liability.
But you know that you can sue someone as a
Right.
Jane Doe.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's
You don't have to
discrimination.
be in the media.
Just
If you want to go to social media, that's your problem. But if
Either
you
way,
want
it's still gonna
respect that.
be
Just because
either way,
you-
it's still gonna be on record. They
That's
could still
it.
go
You
back
could
and
be a
So
Jane
should
Doe.
she just not say anything?
I'm
Because
not
y'all.
saying she shouldn't
I
say
think that she
anything.
should. I think that
How
she
should
should
she handle that whole
She can
situation?
handle it however she
First
wants.
of all,
We're
she
not telling
said-
her what to do. My
I
point
think
is,
she should first acknowledge, like what you guys said. She needs to have a meeting with her boss
Address
and let her
it- address
because
it
we
in a-
don't
She
know.
needs to have
She
a
needs to
witness.
email
She
it to
has,
him.
yeah.
We
She
don't-
needs
we
to
don't-
address it in
she
front of
needs to
HR.
email it
Have
to
a meeting
him.
with the boss and HR first,
Right.
so it's on record. Hey, I'm letting everyone know in this room that this is how I feel, and this is the change that I hope to happen after this conversation.
And that's it.
And then if nothing changes, then you start an email chain, say, hey, I need to escalate this issue. Then boom.
And sometimes we always like look at the blame the bosses. Sometimes it all starts. Look at these women that most of them that come out that the sexual harassment starts from them. Is the way they dress. If you go,
Don't do that. Because you're not gonna tell me that's not fair. That's not fair. Because if the pants that I have on right now shows all my assets, and if Francia puts these pants on, it's not gonna look the same. So you mean to tell me that we both spent the same amount of money on these pants, but because it looks a certain way on my body, I'm inviting to be.
Right. Zenobia have a beautiful body. She have, booty, flat stomach, boobs. She's a goddess. She should not feel like she have to wear something that is oversized because she's afraid that what kind of sick thing is this? Like, she should never do that. I think if you have a body for it, you should show it.
So why would you go to work looking so sexy? Sometimes I'm just saying. No, bro, let me finish. Stop. Because I work in corporate. Let me tell you, I work in the office. And most of the girls that, like females that come to my office are very professionally dressed, and you wouldn't even be tempted. You wouldn't be tempted to talk to them. But some females like the attention. They come to work.
I should not change. First of all, I could. If I'm working in a corporate, if I'm working in a corporate job, I will have to, dress professionally. But somebody like Zenobia that have curves and body,
Yeah, it doesn't matter what she wears. It's gonna show.
The outfit looks overly sexual on her body compared to someone like me. So you cannot tell her, oh, you can't be wearing this because I cannot control my and still look sexy though.
Before we continue, I just want people to know at home and look at me.
Right.
The viewers and opinions of Milan do not. I don't know what you're talking about. He acting different. He is acting different. He is speaking for himself.
Most of these girls that come out that they're sexually abused or harassed even look like they would be. Because like when you look at it, it's like... I'm not saying the way a woman dresses is okay, but most of the times that's one of the factors for sexual harassment. I believe when you go into work, you should only dress for the occasion. You should only look sexy for your man or your boyfriend or your husband. You shouldn't be going to work looking all yummy. You shouldn't be going to work looking all yummy because definitely it's like you need some kind of attention. You get me?
Right now because I cannot believe you just said that.
This is really serious. It's not right.
You would be the person that's sexually harassing somebody.
That a woman has to,
Think
about how you would feel about her and what she's wearing.
Before even you said that, my question was like, what are the signs, right? Because she's saying here that she doesn't have proof of this. Now, earlier you were saying, okay, you don't have to do something. It could be something super subtle. But that right there is not enough for me, I felt, to even report, because he could always, like she said, flip the story, right?
Yeah.
I know where, because I work at a bar, and I'm still working there, so sorry, if you hear this. But my boss will fix my bra sometimes, which I'm like,
Is your boss a woman or a man?
A man.
Okay. Are you uncomfortable with that?
At first, I was not, because I didn't think so much of it. But then I had another coworker that was telling me, like, every time he walked by, he'd be like trying to move his hands like this to touch my butt. Like, do you feel some kind of way about this? Ooh. And once she said something, I was like, what, he does. Yeah, I'm starting to pick up on little things. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate because at first, no, I didn't say nothing.
And she didn't even leave. She still works there.
No, she left.
No, I'm talking about you.
Wait, first of all, I'm about to leave soon, but that's another story. But I told him, I said, I don't want you to fix my bra. I was like, oh, your bra was messed up. I'm like, it's not for you to judge, it's not for you to fix. You're not a Victoria's Secret. He was fixing my bra, and he's like fixing the strap for like a good 1 minute, 2 minutes. And for any man, first of all, my own man don't fix my bra. So for you to put your little fingers on my body, that was kind of odd. And then I'm just like, you come behind me. The whole thing was kind of weird. He came behind me, he fixed my bra, and then he tapped my shoulder, say, okay, I helped, I fixed your bra for you. That was weird. So when that happened, I didn't say nothing initially because I didn't want to be that girl that's gonna be like, that says something, and you're kind of scared to come out because you feel like people can be like, oh, you being dramatic, that. And then that takes a toll on you mentally. Like, okay, maybe something's wrong with me.
And she needs to have somebody there with her as a witness, so she can record it, right?
And it's also
So she can record it.
HR is the recorder.
I know what I'm saying. She needs to have somebody in the room when she speaks to him. So
HR.
it doesn't have to be HR. It can be another
No,
It can be
her say.
Sam,
It's her
it has
say.
to be HR.
It's her say.
It has to be HR.
What if HR changes the story
That's
too?
what, and if they do that, that's the company.
But I'm saying
But
we
that's still
can't.
illegal.
She can't just rely on HR.
She
can't
doesn't have to go through HR.
She doesn't-
No, I'm not saying she has to go through
She
HR,
can
but
go
it would
through
be
the email.
it would be safer for her.
Online.
But she
You go
should
to
have her
timeout,
own witness.
website.
She should have her own
Timeout
witness in
is
the
great,
room.
But we're talking about inside the workplace itself.
She should have her
She
own
should
witness
have
in
an
the
HR
room too.
representative that represents the company to witness everything that's
Right,
happening, so
but
it's
she should have-
documented.
she
There's
should-
a file on every employee at every company. If their company is being run the right way, that HR has access to.
Right, what I'm
everything that's reported, if it's reported the right way, everything
But
will be
I don't
documented.
Like in general, we should always, always do something for ourselves first. Like I said, HR it's strictly business. And if you're the one being harassed and you are the one feeling uncomfortable, you should take matters in your own hand outside of work without, and still be professional. Like I said, I think a lawyer can give her good advice on how to go about it. In case HR doesn't react to it right away, at least she knows what the next step should be.
In New York, if you call, I don't know what number is it, but there's a number definitely if you feel like you're being sexually arrested at work. They could make an investigation and come to your workplace.
Sure,
because that's your human right.
Sure, but what they're going to do is they're going to contact human right. They're going to talk to HR.
That's why.
But
And if
it could be
HR goes,
confidential.
oh, this girl's never said
It
anything
could be
to us.
confidential.
Right.
You
That
don't even have to say your name.
Yes,
It could be
but
confidential.
the
She needs
company's
to do
going
is
to
have
cover
a paper
themselves first. They
trail.
don't.
Right. That's what you make your point about the paper trail.
She needs to have a paper trail. Yes, you can call in a witness from Human Resources to come sit down, but the smartest thing I feel like she needs to do is send out an email.
Yeah.
And you can include, she can BCC HR. You don't have to you don't have to CC people. You can BCC, email your boss and say, lately I've noticed that some of the things you've been saying I'm not comfortable with. So I'm sending you this email out of respect to say I'm not comfortable with this. Milan, you can fix your face. And then after she sends that
And
email,
likely after that, HR's going to set
and
up a
then if
meeting.
he's still doing it, this was my first attempt to stop this.
Because y'all like defending the whole HR thing.
I would write an email and say, oh, hey, Bob, yesterday at 4:00 at the water fountain, you mentioned A, B, C, and D, and that made me uncomfortable. So if it's okay with you, next time I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that. And I would BCC HR so that he doesn't know that I also included HR in the email. And whether he chooses to respond to the email, reply to the email or not, at least on this day at this time, I have made a paper trail that shows that I said this to you. Because obviously I feel some type of way. So if you try to say, if my employer tries to say, oh, well, she never said anything to me, she never made it seem like it was a problem, I would say, no, I sent you an email and you never responded.
What I'm saying is, the only thing that I'm talking about from a social perspective, I 100% understand because I've witnessed certain things like that in the workplace. And what I would say is the only thing that sometimes discredits women when it comes to this is like, some women are quick to assume somebody is coming at them, and I'm talking about this from a social perspective, not even just in the workplace. You might let's say you introduce yourself to a woman. Let's say you need directions.
It's a perception thing.
It could be like, okay, I approach you and say, hey, friend. Look, some women, if I say, let's say I'm about to ask you for direction, let's say I'm about to ask you for something behind you, I could be like, hey, friends, you might, oh my God, I don't want to talk to you. It's like,
No, come on. That's overreacting. We're wrong here. We know what sexual harassment is.
About the workplace,
though.
What I'm saying is, you're talking about from your objective point of view and how you handle things, but everybody is different. She also, like I said, when she says that I don't have no proof and I'm like, he's a married, so it's like, you got to look at it. When when an HR person goes in the room, they're going to hear this, they're going to hear that. It's always his story, her story, and the actual truth. There are always three sides to every story. There's his side, her side, and the truth. I truthfully believe that no matter if the case, if which way, if it's for a male or a female, there's always going to be some exaggeration because emotion is in connection with it on both sides. So I feel like in this case, I would love to hear how her boss's reaction to it as well. And I would just hope that if this is a situation that Rose can get it in a situation where they can work it together and she doesn't have to quit her job.
But that's why she has to send the email. Like she
I'm
said.
not talking about just email. The email at the end of the day is still from her perspective. They didn't have to hear out what he's gonna say, and then someone has to
all
meet.
pieces
But
that
that's
fit
why
together.
it's
Wait for
a
him to respond to
conversation.
the
That's what
email.
we're saying. A conversation between them two to see the interaction. If interaction is the
Sometimes
little
sometimes that's against company policy.
What do you mean?
Sometimes they're not going to put two people that are in whatever.
we
in the
say private
same unit.
conversation between the employee and the boss together.
Because if there is something happening, then it's a liability. Because then there's an opportunity for the other
So you're just
person being
defending the whole thing, right?
Right.
You're just
I'm in no way, shape, or form defending any process or HR or whatever. I'm simply saying from my experience, you have one person that's accusing and you have the accused, right? So when you bring HR into a situation, you would never put them in the same room together, especially if they're at different levels of seniority, right? You're not gonna have a CEO in the same room as an assistant. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about an accusation because he can deny it right there, boom, and HR can decide to close it.
Right.
Or he can deny it right there and then decide within himself to start a retaliation process. Unbeknownst to HR, unbeknownst to the girl, he can start now sending text messages to other people around the company. Yo, you know this girl's a slut. And that's where it starts. And then
Okay, I
then
understand.
comes intimidation, right? So she may never have a bad interaction with that boss ever again. But now anybody else in the company that the boss maybe has talked about the situation to, this girl's trying to throw my name on the dirt.
So are you saying that
We need to get her out of here. And retaliation is a thing. It happens. And it's unfortunate, but even if she is 100% right, it doesn't mean that she's going to win that case. And if she doesn't win, they will retaliate. It's going to happen.
And then they sue a company. How about that?
I would say be sure.
Because it just seems like
That's my only
Look,
message.
I'm just saying what I've seen. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying that.
I think
I'm
from
not
the
saying there
ladies,
isn't- I'm
what
not saying
we're
there isn't
saying-
a solution to it. I'm sure there is a solution to it, but it all depends on the company. It all
But when
depends
you
on
say
the
all
company.
these
that.
things,
From
but
the
it's
ladies'
like,
perspective, we're
all I'm
saying
hearing
private
from you
conversation.
guys
it's all like
is
all the
that, like,
excuses to
she
why
needs
she
to
shouldn't
put
say
up with
anything.
it.
I'm not, first of all, I'm not making
She
any
needs to put up with this
What I feel
behavior.
like she should do also is to
Because
talk to
there's ramifications.
she should talk to her co-workers to see if any of them is like he does the same thing with them.
That's-
if not,
yeah,
then she should evaluate herself and see maybe
Is
the
her
way.
side.
No.
Is
It's
her
like,
the
it is
problem?
not. She's not the only female
but
at
see,
the
hold on,
workplace.
everything that
First
you
of all,
said-
secondly, so she should think and evaluate herself. What am I doing wrong? Am I talking to this guy? Am I giving this guy wrong vibe? Or am I-
What I meant by women need to evaluate themselves is, in Rosa's case, I believe she's not the only female at her job. If this is happening to just you, then there should be something you're probably doing wrong. I don't know, so just take some time off, just think about the form of dressing.
I'm not saying what the
Can we have a safe
I'm not saying what the
This is
guy
really
is doing is
serious,
right,
yo.
or whatever the manager is trying to talk to is right. No.
I hear you, but the
But
reason, I hear you,
sometimes
but the
it's
reason
just-
why I can't agree with you is because at the end of the day, you can't blame.
The woman.
You can't blame a woman.
I
You can't blame a woman for a man's lack of
And that's why
self-control.
we don't come out enough because of people like
What
that.
I'm saying is-
Because a woman doesn't wake up in the morning
And
and
says,
a woman
"Oh,
is
let me
not
turn this off."
required to dress a certain way in order to please anyone that she encounters.
Thank you.
As long as she is dressed in the appropriate manner that her workplace allows, if they're not going to send
It's not about
I hear what you're saying, but you have to remember we live in America, right?
Thank
So
you.
if we're in Africa and there are all these social norms and stuff, I get it. First of all, if this was Africa, she wouldn't even wrote the note. And even if she did, she wouldn't have signed it under her real name. She wouldn't have said what state she was from. She would have said her name was Paula from Enugu. Like she wouldn't have been, you know what I'm saying? Like there is a sort of norm. There are norms overseas that benefit the patriarchy. They benefit male ego, and unfortunately that's the reason why a lot of women don't have a voice overseas. The same way some people feel that women don't have a voice here. It's worse, much worse over there. I wish there was a system in place for women to speak up over there, but unfortunately the retaliation that happens over there is anything from, stoning or being kicked out of your family home or at worst death. Like, I 100% think it's a cultural thing. There's a lot of male that feel entitled to women. They feel entitled to a women's space. And that's not just over there, that's over here too. I think it's more prevalent over there because it's just the way things have been, but over here it happens too. It just happens more subtly because of the law. If we're in another very super conservative society,
right.
Everything you're saying right now is applicable, especially in the business space.
Right.
But
In certain companies, their corporate policies would adhere to that, what you're
But
saying.
it's
that
not just
lesson
dressing;
today.
it's the way she talks to him.
But here's
it
the
could
thing.
be anything.
It could be, but at the end of the day,
Hold on,
it's not our place to tell her that
she can't
she's
admit
out of
she's
line.
just-
I have a
Because the
question.
couple-
I have a
why she's
question.
so
I actually
bad.
have a question. I know you mentioned something about her, the way she dressed. What about the people that work at hoopsters? Because some people, they work at certain bars, they have to dress
They have to
sexy.
wear hoopers.
So what does that mean? Does that,
That's the company
does that
policy.
mean
You have to have
okay?
your joints out, you know what I'm saying?
Is it okay for them to be sexually harassed? Because if their dress code is bralettes or
tight and
little
tight
pants,
shorts. Yeah.
whatever,
You can
shorts,
go-
yeah.
you can- I've
So
seen
it makes
people get arrested
it does
for
not make it
doing
right for them to touch them, because that's not. If you ask me for a drink, I'm giving you a drink. You're not touching my boobs and
I
say,
mean, yeah,
well,
that
you
doesn't
dress
come with it.
sexy.
Just
No.
because-
Hooters, their outfit is very sexual. Is it okay for a customer to touch them or say something sexual? No, because that's a part of their dress code. So I don't think the way somebody dressed should attract you to harass them.
Just because you have access to a woman's space doesn't mean you have access to a
Yeah,
woman's body.
that's-
That firmly believe that.
Francine, your point the point that you made was exactly what we're in a way. Now I'm not talking about Milan was saying. That's something different.
Thank you.
But when you made the point was like the first thing that you did was you were like, you know what, this is making me uncomfortable, but let me gauge this. So you asked another coworker because it could. I'm not saying like that stuff is in people's head, but sometimes the first hour we don't know. It's like. It happened, we never talk about this, but it happens the other way too. I've had female bosses ahead of me, and they might say something as well. But it's like you have to, like,
Yes,
yo,
bro.
they
Yes, bro.
did she say this and that to you, or did she invite you? Then if somebody was like, oh yeah, that's how. Then it might ease your mind to like, you know what, maybe I'm tripping. But then if they go, well, no, they don't do that. Then that's when the red flags flare.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is the thing that the problem is with the Me Too movement. The only fault in the Me Too movement is
Context is
the
lost.
people. It's not even just the context. It's the people that are just that are giving stories that have no backing, or that are false, or that they're just.
But that happened years ago. It's like you lose credibility when it's like this.
What this type of thing is, you have to be sure.
Right.
But you have to address it right away too.
You could ruin someone's career.
Think about this.
But she needs to address it right away.
I agree with you.
Hold on, think about this
I don't
lady,
disagree
though.
with you. My point is, just because you are addressing it right away does not mean there's not going to be
But here's,
retaliation.
but also,
That's my only point.
But what I was gonna
I'm not justifying it.
What was you gonna say?
Yeah, think about this. Francine made a point about how boss always fix her bras and stuff. Like she gave proof that she actually physically touched
Correct.
her.
Right.
This woman says he's sexually
not
harassment.
sure.
I'm not sure. I have no proof. We don't know what he did.
But
We don't know
if he's talking.
We don't know if he's talking to her, like flirting her. We don't know if he's just putting his hand on her shoulder. We don't know anything, what he's doing or not.
No, but she's saying
The fact that Rosa have no proof is a big deal, because if you're claiming that your married boss is sexually harassing you, and you're gonna go to HR or tell somebody, and they're gonna ask you, all right, what exactly is he doing? Is he touching you? Is he flirting with you? And you can't really tell them what's going on. Then they're not even gonna look at you. They're not even gonna pay attention to you, because you can't really prove your case. Like, I'm on your side, but you need to get your facts, get your proof, so you can win your case.
No, but she said in the car that he had the hots for her. He had admitted it.
Wants to have sex with
Yes.
her.
Yes, yeah, admitted
So
it.
that's enough.
If she
If he
has
said that, then he's already in jail.
I'll repeat it so everybody can hear it and have
Understanding.
Dear African Millennials, my married boss.
Okay,
Point one is pressuring me to have sex with him.
that's mentally in her head.
We don't- no.
She kind of said something that kind of makes that
We
weird.
don't know. We don't know if he
pressured.
pressured. We
Yeah,
don't know what
pressure.
pressure is.
Yeah.
He could
There
have directly
was a-
asked her, "Hey, we should have sex," or he could have been like, "Damn, it would look really great if we spent the night
Right.
together."
Go on next.
Boom.
Before you, there was the initial point that sometimes also is when she said my married boss. Immediately, most people,
Call the
not
wife.
even just women, when someone's married, they automatically put a thing in their head like, if this person says anything, I'm automatically gonna judge them. So let's say I'd be
Of course,
curious.
you're married.
I
You have no
know,
business
yeah.
trying to be mad.
I'd be
Sometimes
curious.
the wife
hold on.
knows. Sometimes the
No,
wife knows.
not
She
just
doesn't
that.
care.
I'd be curious to know
There's
that
that
if he wasn't married, how would she describe the situation?
Right.
When the first thing she mentioned was that he was married. So if he wasn't married, would this be an issue?
Right.
That's
So
a
to piggyback
That's a
on your
good point right
to piggyback
there.
on your point, if he wasn't married and she was attracted to him, would
Would
she
this
have
be-
made
That would be
Right.
different,
Right.
though. If she's attracted to
Because that's-
him,
If you're
That's sexual
attracted, that's
harassment.
not
Right.
sexual harassment. If you're attracted,
So is
See?
it sexual harassment because of the marriage, or is it because she's
Because
not
she's not comfortable.
but she's not
Because she's not
comfortable. She's not
comfortable.
comfortable with
So
it. That is
you're
sexual
married.
harassment.
Why are you like sexually advancing me?
I think pressure. It's like she's asking a question because she needs the help, because she needs to figure out a way to handle that situation. And I feel like we need to translate whatever she's saying. She doesn't need to give us all the details because we're not lawyers. we don't know all the laws, and she's from a different state also. Like, we can't just try to figure this whole thing out. But I feel like the fact that she said she's being pressured, that means a lot. That means she is being harassed. There are things happening. Because to me, if I'm being pressured, you putting my back against the wall, and I'm feeling uncomfortable. So to me, that says enough. She didn't need to she didn't need to write a whole essay about what happened. That's not for us to know. That's for her lawyers to ask her if she decided to take action. I feel like her saying pressured is enough information for us to know that something is happening that's making her feel uncomfortable.
She also said, I haven't given it yet.
Finish.
Wait, read it.
I don't have proof of this, but I can feel the pressure every day. So there's never been an overt anything.
There's
She's saying she
nothing
doesn't
she's
because
saying
if he
that's
said
proving it.
I want to have sex with you, that's proof.
That's what she said, that's proof.
So,
But then what if somebody else didn't hear it? Then it's gonna be like,
she
no,
doesn't
I
have
didn't
proof.
say
doesn't
that.
matter.
Say
Hearsay
that.
isn't proof.
But this is
Okay, go
happening
on.
every day,
Okay?
though.
I haven't given in yet.
Yet. First
Because she's being pressured.
So she's considering it. Which means, so there's clues. There's clues. There's a few clues here. We have deduced, from all the points we know, we have deduced that her boss is married. She's attracted to him.
No, she's not.
She hasn't given in yet.
Because she's
Now, my issue with her note is more so the lack of burden of proof. When you bring a claim against someone in the United States, the law requires you to have a burden of proof before the case can be at your side. Now, with making a claim like that, the benefit of the doubt is given to the person making the claim. So right now, we're giving her the benefit of the doubt that everything she's saying is true. That's the law. The law requires us to do that, right? But if the burden of proof is presented by the person she's accusing, if they have it on record, maybe if they have an email from her flirting with the person she's accusing or whatever the case is that could be flipped on her, she's not only gonna lose that case, she's gonna lose her job, and she's gonna be, she can be blacklisted from the industry for potentially lying. Like, these are all things that she needs to consider before moving forward with this situation at all.
She's pressured just because she doesn't know. She's feeling
Finish
pressure.
reading it.
But she's also
Context
questioning
clues.
what she should do, so she may think that she has to do that to keep her
Yeah.
job.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point. But I'm afraid he would find a reason to fire me.
Exactly.
So she thinks that she has to have sex with him to keep her
her
job.
job.
So she don't have to be attracted to him to want to keep her job.
No, I agree with you, which is why I was going to say that's point 4.
No, this is like some really serious stuff, and she might actually be watching. And Milan, your points are like horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
She should look for a job whilst, instead of being there, because she didn't state that she was looking for a job. She was like, every day this is happening. Like, are you waiting for something to happen before you make a move? I just feel like you should just quit.
What she's telling me is this happens every day. So if this happens every day, what is she waiting for? Is she waiting for
Because
something
she
to
doesn't
happen?
know how to address it, because
She's a woman that is trying to support herself. In
Right, but
today's day and
also,
age.
just like everybody else is blaming her, she might feel like,
I'm just telling her.
I'm telling her what to do. I'm not blaming her.
I know him again. I've been through that, and I've been on the other
but
side of
Milan,
having
you said something about maybe she dressed sexy.
Yes.
That's blaming her. So you say that because she dressed a certain way, that means it's okay for her to be harassed?
Maybe, right?
But the thing is,
Maybe it's the way she talks to
the
him.
thing is, a lot of times the predators always seem to be the good guy. It's always the victim that's always like, well, you should not have done this, you should not have done that. Just like when a woman get abused, it's always like, well, it's her fault. She should not have done that.
Absolutely, but no.
I didn't say
The reason
That's how it is in society. That's always like that in society. Whenever a woman is talking or speaking up about something, it's always like, well, what did she do?
The reason why
is she speaking
the reason why
up?
this topic hits so close to home
why
to me.
you have to, why you always have to be like that objective, that other way. Why I can't always 100%, because people do lie.
Sure.
There's hundreds, and there's actually not even hundreds. There's thousands of men. There's thousands of men that are sitting in jail because of false rape accusations. There's thousands of men who don't have
just put them in jail?
My whole thing is, first of all, if we want to just like step aside and talk about that for a minute. Rape cases, when you initial a rape case, the person goes to jail. For instance, there was a situation at one of the schools I was in my fraternity chapter when I was in college. Mm-hmm. These kids had a situation where this girl accused them of rape. Mm-hmm. It was
had that too.
It was 4 guys and 1 girl, right? They sat in the jail. Now it was 3. Now 2 of them actually had got convicted of it. When it came down to it, it was found like something later that got tied into it. The whole 3 years the case was going on, they were all in jail. When two of the guys were found that they were not guilty and they were only just in the room, it was already too late. They had been expelled.
So
from
they
the
were in
university.
the room?
They
crazy.
They didn't. The harassment wasn't. It actually wasn't. She actually consented to it. Other people had came around and she had ended up confessing. So they weren't found guilty. They were found guilty of their assault charges that.
So they were in there. They were in the room when it was happening.
It wasn't a rape. It wasn't. Ended up not being a rape case. Ended up being like verbal assault that they were saying about her afterwards. But the actual rape didn't happen. She actually consented to them having.
So they bullied her.
That's why it's
They
important to make sure your facts
it was
are good.
retaliation. She didn't feel comfortable about what they were saying afterwards. That's what they were guilty of. But in the meantime, there was no sexual case.
At the end of the day, that happens all the time.
It happens all the
there
time.
are women that do lie. They get mad at a man. They lie. They say, "Oh, he raped me." That just happened.
And when they
in a college, that was just on the news that a college boy. But thank God there were surveillance cameras that saw them walking into an elevator together. They were holding hands. It didn't look like a rape happened. You know what I'm saying? So, but he got lucky because there were surveillance cameras that showed otherwise. But there are a lot of men that don't get lucky and they do get
That doesn't mean
committed.
that a rape didn't happen. That they walked into, you know.
No, but I mean there was other
there was proof that negated the accusation. But what I'm saying is, in the meantime, or while that's going on, when you're actually in a case, like you could look this information up. People are in those men are in jail, and if you are found not guilty, your reputation is already done. The newspapers already said. The newspapers already labeled you as what you are. You're not. They didn't get into college after they wasted 3 years of their college experience in jail, so they were done.
But here's the thing.
My whole thing is when
hold on.
Being genuine,
I'm tired.
She's saying that she's feeling uncomfortable.
Now let me put this in full circle. When it comes back to something like this, my only thing, and that's all I ever ask for anybody, and this is not just with women, it's also for men too. When you have something to say, and it's something that can risk someone's livelihood,
or yours,
make sure that you are sure, and make sure 100% that it is what it is, and not something that you are making up. Because if it was otherwise, I would say the same thing. Don't come and say, I think. Women know. The hunted know the hunter. Women know when they're when the situation. I believe that some women, it's like the same, could put the shoe on the other foot as well. I think some people are used to having attention. They know how to establish what's attention as sexual advance and what's attention as just recognizing style, swag, whatever, just being complimentary. So I think some people in a situation where they're not used to that attention, if someone comes at them a certain way, out of fear or out of uncomfortable or not recognizing the situation, they might take it for something else.
But they have to do investigations too. It's not like they're just gonna be like.
Basically, if she's gonna call HR and saying this man's making me feel uncomfortable at work, and they're gonna question like, all right, what's he exactly doing? And you can't really answer.
She did
say. What's HR gonna think? Like she's probably just overreacting.
She's being pressured.
She didn't say what the pressure was.
She didn't say.
She's not mentioning it because she's asking a question.
We don't know what the pressure is.
So she needs to write a whole paragraph.
I'm on her side. I'm on her side. I'm just saying that you have to make sure you play
I think that she has to be so technical, so technical, so that you can feel comfortable. She's the one
I'm on her side.
going.
When it comes to you say, this man's sexually harassing me, then you really gotta be like, okay, what's he doing? Like, you gotta get on top of it. But she don't have no proof to back it up. So it's just like, all right, I'm just questioning like, what's exactly he doing? Like, you just telling me this thing, but you're not like bringing the facts in. Like, she could probably be telling the truth, but you need to have the facts. Like, you can't just like, I don't have anything to prove it. Basically, it's she gonna call HR and saying this man's making me feel uncomfortable, but they're gonna ask her what's he exactly doing, what's going on, and you can't really answer. Then they're gonna think, oh, she's overreacting. But I'm on her side because I want her to win this case. I have a sister. I don't want this happening in her workplace because then I'm gonna get aggravated. You're gonna see me there. You don't want to see me there. But the thing is, if you want to win this case, because I'm definitely on her side. You have to make your points clear because they're gonna go and try if you want lawyers and they're gonna question what's going on, what's happening, and you can't really answer. They're gonna choose him.
But here's the thing.
That's the thing.
Here's the deal. If she did take this to court, I'm sure her lawyer would have a conversation with her, would interview her before they take it to court.
If the lawyer interviewed her in jail already,
exactly.
That's the problem.
But what if he really did it though?
But what if he didn't?
What if he didn't?
It's on both sides. What if he didn't do it?
She's
What if it's your
saying-
brother that got accused and now he's in jail
She's being
for something he didn't
pressured.
even do?
She's being pressured,
I'm not asking you a
and I
question. How would you
think
feel?
I don't have a brother, so I don't need to think about that.
What if your father was at work and he got accused by a female coworker
Right.
of such things, but the accusation was so vague it could have been
You be on
In her
you'd
mind,
be a
it could have
different
been.
defense.
It could have
the
been
thing
tangible. It could have been in her mind.
Personally, I would talk to my dad and try to get to the bottom of it myself.
Sure. And what if your dad told you he was innocent?
If he was innocent, then
gonna
yes,
tell her she's
that's
innocent.
what. No, but that's
Of
what.
course.
No, personally, for me, when I talk, like I'm a very logical person. If I'm trying to get to the bottom of something, I will ask a lot of
Martina,
questions.
I'm not asking about your logic. I'm asking
no.
what would you do?
My logic is important.
He's throwing a wrench in your logic by
I'm
putting a
asking
family
you,
member
what
in it,
would you
'cause
do
it's
if you found out, if your dad came home and said, "Wow, I was accused today at work of being sexually inappropriate." with
Right,
a
and
coworker,"
then he
and
gets sued.
They're about to he gets sued.
Okay, whatever.
They're about to send me to jail because she brought a civil whatever suit against me, and I have to now hire a lawyer. I have to find a lawyer that's willing to take this case. I'm a black dude working a very high level corporate job.
Yep.
You know, I don't know who's gonna represent me. This lady is she may not be of color. You know what I'm saying? No. I mean, this happens.
No, for real. Go ahead.
You're laughing, but this is something that happens every day. In high corporate positions, happens every day. This is okay. So I'm being accused by blah blah blah. This person is a shareholder of the company. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she came on to me and I decided that I wasn't into her, or I didn't want to even entertain that because I'm married. Obviously, I have you. Like I'm not trying to entertain that. Boom. So she's throwing me under the bus. I may have to go to jail. Boom, boom, boom. But I'm innocent. How would you feel about
First
that?
of all, if he did go to jail, when he get out of jail, he can sue that person for yes. But if he's already in jail, he's already.
Valentina, I love you, but I'm so glad you're not my daughter.
No. Here's the thing. If he's already in jail, there's nothing he can do when he's in jail.
You don't want to do that again because the
No,
company's
yes,
going
he
to let
can
you
sue
go
him
after
for
that.
what do you call it?
You can sue, you can get money, but it
Doesn't mean it's
still
gonna- doesn't mean it's gonna win.
tarnishes your name. It still
Exactly.
tarnishes
But you
your
can,
future.
what is this called
For
again?
defamation of character?
Yeah.
You
can
sure.
get-
The
You sue for
character's already
defamation.
damaged.
You sue for defamation of character. Your character is already damaged. One.
But if-
Two. If the company is a high-powered company, you think they're not going to bury that case?
I don't know.
Exactly. You
So
don't
you
know.
don't know.
They would.
That's it. And that
Gentlemen,
doubt,
we do not disagree with
doubt
you.
is
We
is
agree
what
with
we're
you guys
questioning
on
here.
her having concrete proof. We agree
And
with
that's it.
that.
I need the
We
building
also
blocks.
think that
Build the story. You have to create a story for people. Because even
I
in
feel for
court,
her because people go through that every day.
Having to create the story. It's crazy that you guys are going into all these intricacies. You need this and this and this and that.
Because
in
that's what you do.
2018 in America, you need to be
Here's a
intricate.
human being who is saying, I don't feel
Your
safe.
emotions are
I
getting in
don't
the way of
feel.
logic.
Oh, her emotions.
No, you're trying to go there. You're trying to go there. Rosa, the solution definitely is, firstly, according to the EEOC, is to approach your harasser, tell him that this is unwelcome conduct. It would then be wise and suggested to go through any, grievance channels that are available to you in your workplace, HR. If that doesn't work, you can go straight to the newspapers with this, especially depending on the type of clout that this guy has. And don't stand for it. Say something. Do something. It's not okay.
Jarrell, I date women. I love women. I have a mother. I have a sister. So I feel for her, but I need to know what's actually happening before I make an
Because if
informed
that situation
opinion.
goes to court, the judge,
And
the
he's
prosecutor
innocent?
is going to be interested.
He wants to know what
and
to
he's
do.
being accused by Rosa, and this case goes to court, and he's been in jail or he lost his job because of this. Like they fired him because of whatever, and they find out that he was innocent the entire time. Everything you're saying right now, you wouldn't say.
Right.
I mean, it's a different story.
It's the same
If she's
story.
lying,
It's
if
the
she's
same
lying, it's a
story.
different thing. But if it's actually happening, what she's asking,
We don't know if
what
it's
she's
happening.
asking right now is
we don't know
what
what's
should
happening.
she do? If he is, let's say he is, let's assume. for
No, I
fuck's
can't
sake,
assume.
Let's say that
I'm
he
a
is.
black man
She's
in America. I
asking,
cannot assume.
what should she do? That is the basis of the question.
I can't assume.
Right,
I'm
if she
sorry.
was my sister, first of all, you're a woman of color. I don't know what race she is, but let's say she's a woman of color, right? I'm like, you have to be careful with your words because the fact that you're black is already against you.
That's it.
Like just be
I'm
real,
operating from a place
especially.
of, I am a chocolate dude
Facts. All chocolate,
working
huh?
in a
Dark skin.
predominantly
Yes.
non-chocolate environment all
Non-chocolate.
the time.
Chocolate.
So
Okay.
every action
Right.
that I make is under a microscope.
Already.
So here's the thing about being chocolate in this country. I can only speak from my experience. I was raised in a very predominantly non-black community, but it still didn't. It made me very aware of the nuances that you experience in certain white communities or predominantly white communities and predominantly black communities. When you are of a predominantly black community and you are outside of your community, there are a lot of norms that you are not going to be used to, you're not going to understand. So you don't really have the benefit of the doubt. You're not given that, you know, oh, like this is someone that means well. Like there was a story I read the other day of a kid that like got lost and like knocked on the door of, you know, someone's house and they thought he was trying to rob the house, and all he knocked on the door so he can get directions. You know what I'm saying? And they assumed because he looked away, he was a different color, and they accused him of being a thief, and they pulled out a gun on him. Like that's the reality of where we live. So there's really no you don't really have the benefit of the doubt of, oh, well, maybe she's, you know, she didn't give me all the evidence, but I know she's telling the truth. You always have to be aware that there could be room for doubt, because that doubt could be what saves that person's life.
Especially if you work in a white corporate and your boss is a white man. But we don't know the race, it doesn't matter. Now the fact is, you cannot, like the guy said, I agree with you guys 100%. You cannot say, I think. It's too vague. You have to have strong words that could have proof and you could back up. So even though she's feeling pressuring is still a vague word.
I've seen
like,
careers end over, I think.
I need something. Give me actions.
But
it's
what he
scary,
has
dog.
done.
I was gonna also say she can document things too. No, I'm saying.
No, but you have to, because if you go to court, the prosecutor is going to say what time, what happened, what time did you shower.
She can say, last time I went to, hold on. I'm saying she can start documenting it.
Retaliation.
I'm saying she can start documenting it. Let's say she went to make some copies in the copy machine.
Absolutely.
Hold on, let me finish. Okay. She can say, Tuesday, Wednesday, I went to make some copies. At this time, this is what he did to me. Sure. She wrote it down. But that's what I'm saying. She needs to start doing that, because in this question, she wasn't being as specific.
Correct.
And if she wants to take action, she needs to give dates and actual proofs.
I agree with you 100%.
Great.
100% agree. But all we're talking about is proof. That's it.
Okay, guys, listen. I think, you know, we've got a human being here who's coming to us and saying that she's having a problem. Let's assume for a second that this is really going on right now. She is really being pressured into having sex to keep a job.
Okay.
Right.
What can she do?
Report it to HR.
Start documenting.
Start documenting,
Start
and then bring that
documenting.
to HR.
Because she needs to be specific,
Correct.
right? Exactly. First, document and then contact HR.
Correct. And paper trail.
My
Very
advice
important.
is not only about documenting, but like actually talk to a fellow coworker, like who she trusts, because
That
she
can
needs
work
some.
against, that can work against
Just like the point he made,
work
she
against her, bro.
needs somebody to back her up. If they're really close,
Not so much back her up,
Not
but
back
like
her up,
to
but like
understand
in
the
the corporate
experience.
space, it can work against her.
Yes.
Because that person that she
I've been in
confides,
the corporate space.
but no, I'm not saying you haven't, but I'm saying, relax. what I'm saying is the person that she confides in may have a relationship with the accused.
Right.
So she may never know until after it's already in court.
But you should never be personal, like, oh, this one did that to me. Be like, listen, have you ever felt like, you know, something had happened? You could be vague about
Sure.
it.
I agree with that. Have you ever felt like someone in a place of leadership has been inappropriate?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with that. But when you're like going directly to a person about another person,
never
that can work against you very quick.
Is the key.
You had a good point. I think that you should definitely see a coworker who you can bounce the idea off of and engage and figure out, you know, just what you are thinking. I would say that to go just further that, just make sure that you're not bringing that person into a situation where they might lose something of theirs, or they have to actually pick a side and actually speak up. You just want another person to acknowledge that, you know, this does happen, and that way to give you more confidence, because at the end of the day, you have to speak with conviction when you're talking about these type of things. You don't want people to have any doubt, like, you know what, maybe they're not telling the truth. You want to say with like, this is what happened, and this is what I think is going on, and know it. Because if you don't believe yourself, no one's gonna believe you.
And Rosa, I just don't want you to feel like I'm against you. But if it's really true, you should just quit. I don't think you should wait for something to happen before you leave. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Okay, but why should quit if it happens to somebody else?
What about the
But
next
she should
job?
evaluate herself. Why would she be the only one who gets
But what
sexually
I'm saying
harassed?
is-
You don't know if
But
she's
the
not-
thing-
she's not
She may not be the
sexually
problem.
But
That's what I'm
that's what I say. If it's happening, if she's the only one
this keeps happening to, then she should evaluate herself. To
But
see
she doesn't
what she
know.
should do.
Maybe the boss is
That's what
trying
I
to
said.
hurt.
That's what I said. She should talk to people at her job.
But
to
you
see
said
if the
quitting. She
same
shouldn't have
thing-
to quit her job
the
for that.
That's the first thing she should do. Like she should have done. Even I don't know why
Quitting?
she in the letter she said every day. So if you're telling me this happens every day, even when she
How's she
comes,
gonna support herself?
Or she may be trying to quit and just hasn't found the right opportunity.
Right.
That's
But she shouldn't have to quit though.
Listen, if she has a career and she went to school for it and she paid all her loans and she went to study for 4 years, got her
She has
master's, bachelor's,
responsibilities,
bro.
you think
And
she's
she
just gonna
doesn't wanna
quit?
go- at the same-
I don't think Rosa should quit her job. I don't think what happened to her is her fault. So if she quits her job, it's like it's her fault. Like she did something wrong. She didn't do nothing wrong. She have to stand up for herself. She have to know that what happened is unfortunate, and he has to take responsibility. Her boss, if that's a male. And yeah, absolutely, you should treat everybody with respect in the same way. She should not quit her job for that.
At the same time, she doesn't want to go through all this drama. She doesn't have to go through all these
But it's
corporate
not
shit.
okay. It doesn't make it
Her credit
okay.
score is important.
Exactly.
So, and her car insurance is
Her car
important,
note's not
and her
okay,
car
so-
note, and her
Right.
home,
Because the thing
mortgage,
is, that's her
and
That's her running away from the problem. What if it happens again? Then what? She has to keep running away from the problem.
She has to evaluate herself.
Okay. I think in 2018, women are not about catering to your needs and like having to address herself for your sexual desires and lack of
Right.
control over that, right? There are many platforms that are available for Rosa to visit to address the situation and get down to the bottom of it and really, you know, get some justice for herself.
Right. There's a lot of different ways that she can go about it. I personally feel like Rosa should start documenting, like we said, everything that's happening. If you feel like you went to the copy machine and he said something to you, when you get back to your desk, write that down for yourself.
Yeah,
Be
the
like, on
time
this
and
day,
everything. Yep.
at this time, this is what he did. So that if it does get escalated and she does end up having to go to court, she has facts. She's like, this what happened on this day. This what happened on this day. That's how you should go
Yeah,
about it.
that's
She
right.
has to, because the issue here is that
100%.
we're saying that she doesn't have proof.
Burden
Create the
proof.
proof for
Right,
yourself.
Burden
If you
proof.
do feel uncomfortable
That's it.
every day, I don't think that you should have to quit your job. And unfortunately, we do live in a world where we do have to deal with retaliation. And every woman is going to fear that. But if I'm a woman, if I'm a single woman, let's just say I even have a child, and like I was about to say Melancia.
After this episode, definitely over. So.
Bruh,
And like,
my heart is with you, bro.
and like Nancy said, I went to school, I paid my money, I'm paying student loans, I may have a small child at home, I have this. I can't quit my job on Monday and not have no money coming in just
Especially
because I
if
feel
you
something
have a
like
fallback.
that.
Right.
Exactly. If I don't have nothing, she could be in a whole new state. She may not have no friends, she may not know anybody. She shouldn't have to quit her job.
why I
And my
That's
thing
what
is
I feel
also like when you say she should quit her job, okay, if she quit her job and at her new job it doesn't happen, that's not her. Right? That's clearly him. Right? So that he's the he could do somebody else. But like you ladies said about documentation, I agree with that. Also I feel like if she documents what happens every day, that shows the pressure right there.
Right,
Because
exactly.
if all the time
all the
you
time.
document it, that shows pressure right there. And then there's no way that HR is going to turn their back
Right,
on that.
especially
Because
if
you
she-
have concrete.
especially
If you have
proof.
concrete evidence, it doesn't mean they're going to turn their back.
Evidence.
But it doesn't mean that
And
they're
if
going to stick up
HR
for
is
her
not
over
doing-
the person that's accused.
And that's
Right, but
fine,
here's the
because
thing,
if they're
too.
not, I'm gonna go to a higher
That's
level.
what I'm saying. Here's the thing.
I would.
I
not
would
be
say
ready to fight.
when
You
she's
gotta be ready to fight.
Use that.
You gotta be ready to fight. That's it.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
I would say even when she's documenting, I would personally talk to a lawyer outside of work to get
Yes.
advice.
An employment lawyer.
Yeah, just to hear what they have to say. Like, how should I
Absolutely.
handle the
What you need.
situation?
Absolutely.
She needs to talk to an employment lawyer and also face the problem, deal with it, handle and try to follow the proper protocols so she can actually get justice and so that won't keep happening to other people. Because she shouldn't have to quit her job, especially if it's a career.
I agree.
And that's all I have
That's
to
what I'm
say.
saying.
Agreed.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.